What is up, everybody? Welcome to 6 quality of life mods for oxygen not included that I feel everybody should have. My name is JD, and I will be your host. The first mods I want to bring up have to do with mod management itself. They are Mod Manager and Mod Updater. As you can see, the base game mod interaction is very basic. You can't force update anything in the game or anything. You can manage the order that they are loaded, but that is pretty much it. Oh, and you can, simple enable, disable, but that's it. I'm gonna go ahead and enable Mod Manager, and after we enable it, it's going to request a restart. Now that we've restarted, we can see that my manager has drastically changed the mod UI. It's added a whole lot of checkboxes and other buttons and whatnot for you to interact with and help control your mods a lot easier. The next mod I want to show is going to be Mod Updater, which we will disable Mod Manager, enable Mod Updater. We're going to hit the close button. Of course, another restart. Alright. After restarting, we can see that Mod Updater doesn't really add a whole lot to the UI besides these little check marks right here, which show you that automatic updates are enabled, and then you can click it to do a force update, and there you go. Now I'm going to enable Mod Manager, and we'll do one more restart. Alright, after the restart, you can now see that both Mod Manager and Mod Updater are working together. I have noticed that if you have the Mods Auto Updater enabled in Mod Manager and Mod Updater both enabled at the same time, you will potentially get stuck in a update loop. So if you do decide to run both of these mods at the same time, I strongly advise unchecking Mods Auto Updater in the Mods Manual Manager mod, because the Mod Updater mod will just update already. And then if you have mods that didn't update, you can click the update all, and at that point then you will be able to update any mods that didn't get updated. I have noticed in the comments of both mods that some people are having issues with one of the Mod Updater programs not updating certain mods. So if you want to avoid that, just use both. There's one more mod management tool I want to show off. Unfortunately, it is not compatible with Mod Manager, and that is called Mod Profile Manager. Now this does also change the mod UI, as you'll see after we come back from the restart. Unfortunately, Mod Manager also changes the mod UI, making it incompatible with Mod Updater. As you can see, we've actually have this new button called Sync and Resume, which is used for your mod profiles that you are now able to create with this mod. By clicking the mods button, you now see that we now have this new button down here called Mod Profiles. We can click on that, brings up a new UI, and then we can create mod profile file folders. I feel this would be really useful for people experimenting with different mods, any mod creators, just feel like this is just an extra nice little tool to have for mod management. I am just bummed out that it is not compatible with Mod Manager. With that being said, I feel that the average person probably will not find Mod Profile Manager as useful as somebody like maybe a content creator or a mod maker. Alright. The next mod I want to show off is the Blueprints Fixed mod. It is the currently updated version of the Blueprints mod that's not being maintained by the original content creator anymore. It adds a whole lot of functionality and ease of use to the game. We can click this new blueprint button down here. It gives us the option to start making blueprints. You can see a little blueprint symbol on your mouse. You can then highlight whatever you want to make a blueprint of. You can go ahead and name it whatever you want when prompt. We're just going to call this one Power Plant Test. And now that we've made a new blueprint, we're still in the blueprint creation. So we have to click off, and now we have our blueprint. Now you can see that some things may disappear when you're, that's because something's probably in the way. And also you notice, you pan too fast. Things might look a little weird, but it does work. You can cycle through your blueprints with left and right. As you can see, I've already made quite a few. And they're all named. If you were to press up and down, you could cycle through files if you like to have things organized. I have not done that yet. I might do that at some point. But I do find that this mod would potentially be very useful for long-term players that are just tired of trying to memorize build sizes for things that they build in every game. I think this might also be useful for new players who are maybe looking for some help or something and go online and find Mr. Francis John or somebody else like Brothgar or the German engineer guy that are doing tutorials on how to build things and how things work in the game. They could easily find those content creators and possibly find some blueprints they've made, so that way those people can experiment with those designs in their games a lot easier than having to download entire game saves. And it also makes it easier to implement your most commonly used builds into any colony without having to constantly memorize room sizes. The next mod I want to show off is the Better Info Cards mod. Typically when you would hover over a group of things like this group right here, that's a ton of stuff, it would actually just go off screen. It wouldn't cascade like it does right now, showing me everything. Now it's not perfect. If you do give it, as you can see, a small amount of space, it will still push everything off the screen. But if that does happen, just move it over to the upper left side and bam, shows you everything. So this is, I feel, just great for everybody. You can see everything that's there. And you don't have to sit there and fight with it and try to guess what's in that big pile or what's not in that big pile. Kind of let you know, just make it easier. The next mod I want to show off is the Thermal Tooltips mod, which works with the Better Info Cards mod. So there is no such issue as conflicts, but it only works in the thermal overlay by default. So as you can see in the thermal overlay, now our info card got way bigger. It's now off screen again, so let's move it up to the left. See, we can't fit everything. No, okay, so we can't fit everything. So it doesn't add more info, but as you can see, it tells you how hot something needs to be before it turns into magma, or liquid lead, or for abyssalite, tungsten, or bleach stone right into chrome. I feel like this is really useful for pretty much everybody, but probably more for maybe newer players or players that it is a lot of information to remember. I find it most useful trying to remember what temperature to maybe what crude oil boils at, or the difference between polluted water, salt water, and water, and what those temperatures are. I feel like this is really useful for pretty much anybody. And it's not intrusive, and it just it helps not have to constantly keep going into the database index in game. I mean, this is great. There's tons of information. It's useful, but constantly going into it to compare things can be a little tedious. Whereas with this, you just hit F3, go into thermal overlay, and just mouse over whatever you want to compare temperatures at. The last mod I want to show off in this video is the MSP mod, or as it's properly known as, the Material Selections Property mod. This works for when you go to build things. Mostly useful for doing plumbing or ventilation, specifically radiant pipes. As you can see here in my HUD, or in my UI, it shows the thermal conductivity of all of the metals in the game that I have access to, and by clicking on different ones, it'll change. It also shows like thermal capacity, the melt point. Gives you just a lot of useful information, and it's kind of hard to remember every single metal's conductivity. I mean, eventually you do kind of memorize which one's best, but if you get mods that add elements or something, that changes. And this mod, from the description, seems to work with just about anything, because all it is just pulling the information from the game itself and then displaying it right here. I feel this is really useful. It helps cut back as going back into that database, especially when you're trying to build and you're trying to decide if you want to use iron or aluminum or steel for your application, because not every application may require the best thermal conductivity, so. But that was it. Hope you guys found this useful. If you have any other mods you may want to add, go ahead and drop that down in the comments. If you agree with me, go ahead and hit that like button, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.